Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building the city of Verde Beach. And we're still dealing with backup and congestion in our rail corridor. And I think the main reason for that is that I made a huge mistake. Keep it simple, stupid. That should have been my mantra this entire time. I've made this very complicated, very messy, and as a result, it backs up. And so I think I've been treating the rail lines rather than like a highway, which is kind of how you need to treat them. I've been treating them like local roads, and they're not local roads. I've also been using the rail network to get cargo from Mulligan Island over to our oil industry, and that's just not going to work. So in this episode, we're going to focus on a couple of things. We're going to focus on fixing this rail mess, and we're also going to focus on increasing connectivity over in this area in an effort to really maximize what we can do with our bus system in the future. We're also going to need to rebuild this interchange, which you'll understand why a little bit later, and we're going to replace this train station. So we've got a lot to work on today, and I know that the rail stuff is really starting to grate on some people. So if you want to skip that, I'm going to leave a timestamp, and you can certainly move forward and skip this and look at the results. So the timestamp will say something along the lines of results of the rail reconfiguration. But without any further ado, I am going to call a monster mulligan. This is episode 40. It was going to be 39B, but this grew and grew and grew and grew into something that I didn't anticipate it becoming. So with that in mind, we might as well start fresh. I think that's the only way that this gets better, is to really rethink it in a significant way. So now here's where things are going to get very controversial. I'm going to eliminate basically all of this. The thought being, we need a significant amount of track, but we need it to be logically oriented. And this is an opportunity. So we didn't grade this beforehand. Clearly, if tracks were going to be laid, there would be some grading that would take place too. So it wouldn't just be they slap track down on whatever grades they have available to them. That's not the way the world works. So now you might be thinking, well, great, City Planner, you have taken everything and destroyed it all. Now what? Well, and that is the question. Now what? So I think one of the things that has continually been a problem is that our rail is on the wrong side of our highway. So I think we need to really think about that. And the first thing we're going to do, we want to make sure that our rail looks good. I know that's probably not the most pressing thing, but it matters to me. So I want to make sure that the bridges all look the same. So I'm going to put a temporary bit of elevation in the water. What we're going to do is try to find the shortest distance across here at the lowest height possible and get across all of this stuff happening here. I think that's probably as good as it gets for us. We turn our road guidelines, our angles back on. Actually, try that one more time. I think it might have been a little higher than it needed to be. Much better. Okay, so now we're going to go through here. Like a nice gentle turn and a connection right there. So this is not going to at all go to the oil industry. And we're going to keep this as low as possible and try to mirror everything happening here. Now I see one issue already. It looks like we're dropping some elevation, so we're going to call a quick mulligan. We'll bring that up. All right, now you can see that we were able to create this gentle transition to the other side of the highway. We have a bit of a dip here. Let's get that fixed as well. And I already like where this is going in relation to where it was. It was in a messy spot. Okay, so now we're going to get our connection made up here, but we also need to think about this connection over here. So Now that we've learned how to use the plateau tool, I think that we need to really focus on getting this to be a nice smooth transition. So we're going to move. We know that we're going to need extra tracks over here in the future, or I should say I know that we're going to need additional tracks over here in the future, and I will explain to you why in a moment. Now, just so you know, I have built this on a number of occasions at this point. In fact, I feel like I could close my eyes and build this because I've spent so much time on this trying to get it to work right. And I recorded a video and had OBS issues. So one of the things I've learned is that if I don't run it in administrative mode for whatever reason, what happens is I use the CPU and drop a ton of frames. And so for the last episode of Clearwater Crossing, or Clearwater County rather, what happened is I was in a situation where I was dropping approximately 10% of my frames, and that's bad. But I feel like I could salvage the video. I dropped 96% of the frames when I recorded this one. So that's not at all salvageable. That's madness and a disaster. I felt very bad after filming. But it just means that I can do an even better job this time. And look at this. This already looks better. So, all's well that ends well. So the other thing I want to do is we have this ridge here. Why don't we slope this as well? We know that we can do it, so why not? Oh, and those skills are coming in so handy now. So for every single one of you that told me that I needed to up my my plateau game, I agree and I appreciate you. Ooh, and I'm just a little bit off. So what I think we're going to do is back this up just a scotch. And then we'll pull this forward. We're going to pay very close attention, get all of these pillars to line up, and make sure that we don't have any lumpies or bumpies. Like this. That's no good. We're still smooth there, so now we can start our descent. Oh, look at that. That is smooth. I love that. You can see that I need to pull the ground over a little bit. I didn't slope it quite far enough. Just curious, did that turn out okay? I think it did. I think that is good. So the unfortunate thing is there's a bit of change here, so I might need to back this up just a bit. That goes up. I don't like that. There's an easy solution though, and that is just on this one here, just bring it up just a hair, and then we'll have another lumpy and bumpy. Took a little bit of fiddling, but I think it is beautiful. So this will completely separate this traffic, this train traffic that we're receiving from the airport from the oil industry. So that's what we were looking for. Unfortunately, we have some oddness here. You kind of see it. The curve starts sooner than I started it. The solution might just be turning off angles here and eyeballing it. And now I'll turn my angle back on. Actually, I need to get a little bit closer. Okay, again, a bit of fiddling to get this just so, but I think it's pretty darn good. That's pretty even, and in vanilla, that is as best as you can hope for. I think we could certainly do a bunch of counting. There's a little bit of a bump here, but I think it's manageable, and I'm okay with it. I'll allow it. So let's think about what comes next. So we know that we need a couple of tracks to go up this way. We know we want to separate these from anything going in here. So we're going to completely separate those. That's a different movement, different reason for existing. I want to look at where these tracks are right here. We're going to make a level pad. Then we're going to plateau from here all the way over here and run out of soil. That's no problem though, because I know that we're going to need some in a bit. One solution might be just to do that for the time being. And you see that part of the problem is we're actually filling in here. So there we go. So the name of the game here is going to be to have as absolutely straight a length as possible. So we've got our topography here, and we're going to do some parallel tracking. So what I think that we need are 5 parallel tracks, and I will get into why I think it's 5 in just a moment. Okay, so the first track is going to go to our oil industry. Let's make sure that we are in a good spot with our curves. You already see that we're going up arbitrarily. So a nice smooth connection there. I'm actually starting to question going out as far as I did. Maybe I need to bring our passenger rail in back here. We can eliminate one of those other tracks in just a moment. Now we're going to tunnel. There we go. Now let's get this tunnel connected. So we already have our existing rail tunnel. Ooh, and I inadvertently deleted our road tunnel underneath here. So let's fix that as well, because that's going to have a direct impact on us. Okay, so we're connected up there. So we have our freight going over here. Now we're going to use one of these for pass-through cargo traffic just coming from the outside world, and 2 of them for turns, for these turning movements here. So we need to take another look at this because we're going to need to expand the width. Now I know that I want these to mirror up here as best as I can. And I know that there are going to be, I think there's at least 1 track needed up here, if not 2. Why don't we do 2? Because I'd really love to keep all of that cargo traffic completely separate, and I think I'm going to use, I want to make sure that this isn't inadvertently joining, because we are going to loop this back around. Now I am going to merge those 2 modes coming in at the airport right here. So this is on the outside track. Middle will be outside connection. This will be an airport connection. And then we're going to sync this one. We're going to do 2 things with this. Number 1, we're going to make a connection across, and we're going to make a connection down. Or it might actually just be easier to have 1 more track. We'll need to give that some thought, but for the time being, let's focus on getting this turn, because that's really going to drive a lot of decision making. Okay, and the reason I say that is we need to get up and over 3 tracks to make this work. So we're going to turn off our road length and our grid because we want to get this as close as we can to this other track. We might need to redo this bridge going down, but we know that the way up we can salvage if we get it right. Okay, so we have a nice connection there. Let's see if we can mirror this. There we go. That is pretty. I like that. The only thing I don't like is how crazy the decline is here. That's just not going to work for a train. That is smooth. I love that. So now we know that we have this bridge connection that should alleviate all of the backup we have there. So this is our through movement. So this needs to go underground. This needs to pass through. This is also from the airport. That needs to pass through. We might add one more connection here. Doesn't need to be a full connection. And the whole purpose of this connection will be to get cargo from the outside world into the city. So this will be our main line right here. Nice connection. Another swell connection. And now we should do some grading here to ensure that we have a nice connection here. Oh, that is beautiful. And that is going to work really, really well once we are done with the next part. So the next critical component is going to be finding a way out of here. So we have a way in, we do not have a way out. But we need to redo this interchange first. So that's going to be our first order of business. And what I'm thinking here is that's a really low, this roundabout thing is a really low capacity interchange. And what we really need is something that can handle all of the extra truck trips that we're going to have. And I know that we're going to have extra truck trips because we removed this movement here. So if they're bringing oil in from this industry, now they're going to drive over here and get down. So we need a free flow movement through there, if at all possible. So let's take a look at our grading, because what we're going to do is try to do a trumpet in this area. And it's vanilla, so it's certainly going to be a little more challenging. So what I'm doing here is creating a nice level pad that I can use for this tool. Now that we have that, I'm going to use the tool up here and create another path out. Now this is very steep. I understand that and I feel bad about that, but not bad enough to completely redo this interchange in the tunnel. It'll work. So primary consideration here is we want to prioritize the through movement. So that will be what is at grade, and we're going to bridge over the top. Could also tunnel, but I think bridging will work just fine. So we're going to build most of this with our just regular dirt roads like I always do. And one thing you'll notice right away is I didn't go far enough out, so we're going to need to try that again. I'm just trying to give myself enough breathing room in between what will be our future merge lanes and the highway. Otherwise it gets really wonky and difficult to work with. Alright, so we're good there. Now we need to get over all of this with our 2-lane road. So this is terrible. So what I'm doing basically is I want to steal the grade that I need to get across, and I'm going to go into my landscaping tools and raise the ground and slope from there. Now I'll use the plateau tool and try to make this better. It's still going to be very steep. Gotta go up a little further, I think. That's the stuff right there. There we go, and that's ugly. Ugly. So this is a tricky spot, because what I need to do here is come up with my merge points. So what I'm going to do is kind of create this little pattern here. And we're going to need to do use our plateau tool again. We're also, now that I'm thinking about it, we don't have enough. Well, we do, because we're going to loop back around and go out from here. So things to think about. So I'm going to turn off my road guidelines and turn my grid back on, because that will make this whole process a million times easier. Now I'm going to turn my road guidelines back on. There we go. We're good there. Now we're back to our plateau tool, and we need to make a connection from over here to up here. That did not work well. In fact, it worked terribly. So, it just seems like it's going up and up and up. All right, so we might need to freeform this a little bit. Okay, I like this. This is exactly what I was hoping for. Now, I want to leave long enough ramps that the queuing distances make sense, and then I want these ramps to be mirrored as best as I can anyway. It's brutal. Brutal. That is, we're going to have to do something to try to fix this. I said I didn't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I don't think I have a choice. That is, bring this back further. Oh, no soil. It's the battle. It's okay. We'll steal fill from close by. That is much more manageable. And our connection there is reestablished. So we need another set of ramps, and then we should be good to go. Again, this is where our that's not what I meant to do. Here's where our plateau tool comes in handy yet again. So I'd really love to get these to be ground level if at all possible. So I'm going to try my best. And the way that I'll do that is just kind of messing around with upgrading roads a bit. So I'll increase the soil height. There we go. All right, that is what I'm looking for. So let's construct our ramps now. So that will be a way onto the highway. This will be a way off. And now we can shrink this down. Well, let's upgrade these first. So this will again be a way off the highway. This will be a way on. And then ideally, we are able to take this. And oh, this could be real bad. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. Why don't we try to use a normal road? I don't know why it's not showing me my pillar. So this is definitely strange. Okay, so I think what happened is when I made all the modifications to this area, it added a bit of soil there and confused the game. We might actually need to go down here a bit too. Not a ton, but just enough to get the appropriate clearance. And same thing right here. Oh, and it broke this. So you can see that this is one of the reasons why this can be one of the more challenging interchanges to build in the vanilla game. Move It would clean this up right away, but we're going to get it. Oh my goodness, we've done it. And it's not beautiful, but it works. I think I might, again, not learn from my mistakes, try to fix this. We have an extra bridge span there that just doesn't make sense. And we'll go back through here and beautify it. Not with landscaping today. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Don't worry. I haven't lost my zest for landscaping. We're gonna have a landscaping marathon one of these days. I've got to do a little bit. I've got to do a little bit. We've certainly got to get our trains across here. So why don't we think about that first before I lose sight of that. So first of all, these can now be consolidated. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this one forward. And then we'll bring it down through here. Let's look at our grades again. We're good. Then we'll bring it up again. And then make our connection nice and smooth. And then this one will connect up right here. And then we're going to have this one follow and go underground at the exact same point in time. So let's make sure we're getting these as close as we can. You know, I don't know why that doesn't line up perfectly. That bugs me. That is what we're... Okay, I'm going to stop letting perfect be the enemy of good. Now, this is especially important because now I'm realizing I need to go much lower or start my decline much faster than that other track. And this is probably the best approach. Okay, I think we're actually all connected at this point. I'm excited to see what happens, but the first thing I want to do is toggle our lights here. Okay, I think we're good to go. Let's see how it works. Flying cars. Ooh, we are about to kill the city. And you might wonder how? Well, no power. But let's clean up this power line while we have the opportunity. We'll get that a little bit closer to this road. We had it on the side of our train tracks before, but those are no longer there. Okay, let's see what happens. I'm going to speed this up because I just want to see. Buttery smooth, buttery smooth. And our new interchange, it's working pretty well too. I think it would be better if we had more of an angle coming in here. So this is coming in flat now, so it's not really prioritizing. You see that you can have a free flow of movement here, and that's because of the angle. With these angles, they have to stop, and they're switching lanes. So that'll be one improvement that we can make quickly. Now we'll again raise these up, get wild with it, convert it. And then let's see if we can do a highway. I mean, that's what I ultimately wanted to do right here. Very good. And then we'll use our tool to fix that. Smooth things out nicely. And we have a junction to remove. We can even leave that stop sign off. I think we're going to be fine there. That is nice. Let me clean this up just a little bit. We'll do a little bit of detailing. This is a pretty ugly junction here that I don't love. I don't know that there is much I can do about it. I might just, it's working, I'm going to leave it. Do know that triggers me. As does this. Okay, so one of the main reasons I wanted this big buffer here, besides, knowing that it's pretty ugly, we're getting some graphical issues, is it's really all about, for me, the ability to prevent the light spillage. So you'd have people at night crossing, shining lights in each other's eyes, and we don't want that. These are way too big. They look kind of silly. We'll leave the other side a little bit more natural and maybe just have some spots of tropical grasses. Oh, this is great. This looks good. Our trains are going good. Even on fast, we're not backing up. Well, maybe this, whatever's happening here. Guess we have a bit of backup here. Interesting. Let's see where this is happening. So we need to give a little bit more space, it looks, to everything happening here. Is the backup actually happening out of town? Yeah, the backup's actually at the edge of the map. Great. Just what I was hoping. See if that improves anything. It's not going to do much if I can't get the people out of town. I mean, that's ultimately the game. That stinks. Let's see. And you see they're just queuing right there. They're switching. Ooh, I've never been back here. They're just people spawning, loading onto trains. Neat. Interesting. So there's not that much that we can do about that, but I think we've at least put ourselves in a spot for success. Just want to make sure that we're not inadvertently feeding. We are. Shoot, that's the problem. It's my fault. So these tracks are supposed to be merging in here, but so this is passenger, cargo, cargo, and then external cargo. Okay, I see the problem. This is my fault. Okay, this should fix it. So this cargo traffic was still finding a way to make its way over here and make everything terrible. So now at least it should, in theory, be fixed. Let's let this run a second to see if it clears up. I'm also going to put this back where it was because I don't think that this had anything to do with our problem. And I just like the way it looked a little bit better before. On second thought, I will increase that distance, but I'll make it look a little bit cleaner. So I think that helps. So now we see this coming in from there, merging into the center one. And this exits the city. It does not loop back around like this does. Now, I'd like to get this to be cleaner at some point. That's pretty ugly. I wish it was straight. I think that would improve the aesthetic quite a bit. But this does make sense. I think we might just leave that. Let's do a little bit of cleanup while we're waiting to see if all the traffic clears out. And we're out of soil. So, the constant battle. So it looks like things are starting to kind of clear up a little bit. Got our passenger line. Truthfully, the other solution would be to merge this in here sooner. Maybe that's the solution I should be taking. So my thought process here is it's one less thing merging onto the main line. So we'll consolidate those right here and hopefully that'll speed things up. This stuff needs to clear out. So I think we're going to let that sit for a minute and work on some other things within the city. So one of the really significant points of backup right now in the community is right here. And I think that the problem really, like I mentioned, this is a low capacity interchange and it's just not really necessary. So we're going to take it out, call a mulligan in this entire interchange and do something different. What we're going to do is basically just have a passover ramp or junction rather. There's just no need to have all of this happening over here. And we can keep this running now that I think about it because this isn't necessary. Although these people might disagree. And then we'll just bring this over here. And we will use our soil raising trick to try to fix this. Not going to work over here. We'll just have to accept it. And what I'm thinking is now we don't need, because we don't have all of this craziness going on over here, we don't need to have that arterial. And you can already see traffic flow appears to be better. Let's take a look at our traffic flow. Where are we at right now? 76. So you can see that there are certainly a couple of spots, a little fire. So this is one where we are preventing that free flow. This is where a yield sign would probably make the most sense. We're just going to take away the signal altogether. I think almost every vehicle is going to be turning right. And it's not very heavy traffic flow right here, so I'm not overly concerned. And that's good. You can see that things are clearing up at this intersection now because of what we've done. So we're at 77. Another hot spot right here. So I think I see the issue, and this is going to get worse and worse over time. We're going to move our fire watchtower over here. Not eliminate it. Never. So this is getting some traffic onto here. I don't think we want that anymore. It would certainly be very controversial to remove existing roads. But I'll look at that as one thing that a community can do if it has right-of-way reserved is it can certainly go through the process of relinquishing that right-of-way. The problem is, what do you do with it? Do you give it to someone? Do you keep it? So it's called a right-of-way vacation, and that's basically what we've just done. And this is pretty ugly and bumpy. Let's see if we can fix that at all. Oh, that is nice. All right. Well, it's not perfect, but it's all right. And now we will go through and make that one last connection over here. And we will destroy property because we cannot save it. That wouldn't have happened. But I do think that the right-of-way here could be reconfigured to try to make this a more logical movement. Because we had a local road connecting into here. The other thing that I think might help would be if we're looking at this intersection, we have a lot of lanes. You're forcing everyone to turn. Let's provide some options. And that should take care of the traffic in this area. We're up to 80. This is still heavy, but looking good. How's our train traffic? Are we clearing up? Oh, look at this. It's a beaut. It's wonderful. How are we doing over here? Lots of traffic. This is totally predictable. And again, this is our lane thing. We're forcing everyone basically into the lane. So we're going to add lanes here. I don't like that I can't change the speed because obviously you wouldn't go from going 25 on this local road, 45 on this collector, 35, whatever it is, to 70 miles per hour. But the distance are such that I think we can get away with it because you can't really accelerate that fast down here. And you don't really see speed limit signs in a roundabout anyway. Then we get these cool signs telling people where to go. So I like it. I'm also seeing some backup here at the toll booth. And what that comes down to is we don't have an automated toll booth policy. So let's set that, and we should almost immediately see things improve here. Look at that. Now it's smooth sailing. And if we look at this, traffic flow still 80. We're still good. We're in a good spot. We got some backup here. I think this is going to clear out over time. It's just going to take some time. And the toll booth should help with that. It'll make this a more desirable path. Well, that's not going to help, but... All right. So the next thing I want to do, I think Kellerhouse is... Ooh, whoa, whoa! We obviously... Oh, we're here again. So we're going to do this again, huh? Are we low on water? No, we're perfect. So I think what I'm going to do at this point, I want this to be solved. We're going to add a small water tower back here. That's the only thing it does. There we go. So we need this water, otherwise we're going to lose all of our whales. Not very much water for them. And how are we going to fight fires without any water? So we need that. So the next thing I want to do, so we have this, I have a plan for this. I've had a plan for this. So this right now is Myrtle Avenue, I believe. Is it? No, Sabrina Hancock. This is Red Street. And this is Myrtle Avenue. Well, this is Myrtle Park. And shouldn't Myrtle Park connect to Myrtle Avenue? So what we're going to do I think we can get away. Ooh, I don't know that we can. Yeah, we can get away with this. We're going to deconstruct a little bit of our highway here. Lower things down just a scotch. Use our plateau tool. By scotch, I mean even more, because that's not enough. Oh, I'm making this really bad. Really, really bad. All right, well, give that another go. Okay, so I want this to be another local connection through here. The city owns all of this land, so it's in its best interest to get some sort of connection out here. So we're going to assume that the city won a grant for this, because this would be a very difficult road to fund otherwise. But for economic development purposes, the city has applied for a grant and won, and as a result opens all of this land up for development. And added bonus, even though this would be a very difficult sell, we get Myrtle Avenue to extend through. Now, this would be easiest now because there really isn't anything on this road. Almost everything fronts something else except for these businesses, and they were already on Myrtle. So the real challenge would be these businesses here. They'd all have to change their business cards and their signage and, even their incorporation address. So that's one of the reasons you don't do that. And I better change my directionality before I forget. Because we all know who I am. Okay, and we'll need to fix this up later on, but that's not a now project. The now project was getting this nice bridge through here. We start to see some people using it already. Let's see what this looks like. You're going to see some traffic out here. It's another way to get off the highway and go somewhere. So all of this connectivity is what we're going to be gearing for right now. We're going to make some quick connections. We're not going to do a lot with said connections, but we're going to do something with it. So the first thing I want to do, we have another issue here with a cargo train terminal. So this is at this point, let's see, 100 or 80 years old. So I think it's a logical time point to reconstruct if we wanted to. We're also going to eliminate this ramp here. I don't think, well, let's see what it looks like from a traffic standpoint. Yeah, it's not helpful anymore. We have this other access, and I'd love to force the traffic over there, so this will be decommissioned. And I'd love to salvage this in the most City Skylines way possible and just relocate it somewhere. I don't think I actually have a good place to relocate it. Actually, right there, just for the time being. What we're going to do is try to get this out just a bit. That might be just a bit too far. So I'm trying I want to fix this tunnel issue. And the way that we're going to do that is to get this a little bit further away from the location that it was currently in, where it was really sharp and difficult to work with. We ended up with that wonkiness because of its proximity to the highway. It's been like that since episode maybe 4. So now we will make a fix. The city is investing heavily right now. You can see that we burned through quite a bit of money this episode. And this is a pause-worthy event, I think. I'm going to get this as far away as I can. And what we're going to do is we're going to do two things. Number one, we're going to pop this down as quickly as we can. Now you might be wondering why I have another ramp over here. And the whole purpose of this other ramp is going to be for passenger traffic. And now they're nice and even. And now our big problem is going to be this bridge and the businesses here. So we're going to be using a bit of eminent domain. By a bit, I mean a whole bunch. So I've heard a lot about how badly people want me to get across the river. And now I just did. Yeah, but it's probably not it. We'll get there, I promise. We're getting very close. Okay, so that's a nice logical connection. Goes up gently, a little ugly, but manageable. And now we can relocate some of these connections over here, and there's a very, very, very specific and very important reason for this. And this is probably going to be one of the most controversial things that I have done in this entire series. And you'll see it in just a minute. Okay, so this is the cargo rail line. This is the passenger rail line, the connection to the outside world. And now we've made that connection very nicely, very space efficient anyway. And we best not upset Myrtle. We did give her at this point, we've really helped her out and given her a significant road in the community. So I'm hoping that appeases her, at least for a bit of time. Okay, so now we can run this again. And where things are going to get controversial is I'm going to take the entirety of Kellerhouse up to Main Street and create it, or downgrade it to a collector. Actually, we'll go beyond Main. We'll go to Semper Verde at Myrtle, and that will be a collector. And now you might think, what are you doing, Phil? This is madness. Well, this is an arterial. The highway's an arterial. The roundabouts are connecting the arterial to the collector. And from a collector, I can add local roads. So I have now put the city in a position where it can have local roadway connections throughout all of here. And you see how heavy the traffic is. We take a look at this, and it's just red. It's still 82%, not bad. But one thing that I think we could do is improve this by adding local road connections. And these connections are going to be critical when we have our bus service, or we're going to be funneling all the buses onto the same road as all of the cars. And we can do that. That's totally fine. But we have a lot of right-of-way in here now, so we have the opportunity to create developable land in a logical way. So we're going to make those key connections through here. And Levi Lewis is thrilled about this, because look at all the developable lots that he gets now. So many lots that he would have loved to develop that he hadn't been able to develop, and now he can. So I know that there's going to be a problem moving this. I've played with this a bit, and it just doesn't work right. So we're going to move that over there, and then shift this building over to Laurel Street. That's what they're calling it. Because we're going to take this road, and obviously that's not the most realistic point, but I couldn't upgrade this road. So that's one of the problems I know from my extensive sandboxing. We're going to relocate this road just slightly. Make that connection. Now this road has a name, so we're going to maintain that name through here. We don't want Dean to take over. There we go. Laurel Wright Street. You know what? We'll formalize that. Laurel Wright is a person. And then we'll get some of these roads upgraded, and you can start to see how this is turning into a place. Now this is all messed up right now, and I'm sure you're thinking to yourself, what is he doing? Trust me, it's going to get better. It's going to get much, much better. How's it going to get better? Obviously at grade rail connections. That makes it better. So now we have the ability to add additional streets over here. And I'm just going to use regular roads, and we'll kind of meander some of these across here. We will use a connected street pattern. That doesn't mean it necessarily has to be a perfectly conforming grid. It just needs to have core connections. And through here, I think we are going to kind of loop it back around and maximize some of our developable space. Yeah, I don't love this. You know what we're going to do? we'll just get rid of these diagonals, and these will be large lots, and we will figure that out in the future. So now we've created another neighborhood over here. It'd be great if we had another connection through here, but I don't think that we have the opportunity because of the height of this train track without completely reconfiguring that. We have changed this. Maybe we'll just, for the time being, I want to have that crossing there because we already have our pedestrian connections. We could certainly try to do more, but this is already significantly more connected than it was. The next opportunity I see for connection is around Main Street and right here as well. So what we're going to do, briefly disconnect these folks. We're going to have kind of a wonky connection there because the game won't let me do anything else. And add one more connection across here. And then this road right here will no longer terminate. We're going to extend that in here. And again, this is all public right-of-way, so the city can have whatever plans it wants for this area. Now, here's where I'm going to take some liberties and say that we probably shouldn't take out this house. We also probably shouldn't take out that house, but we're going to. So these are older homes. You could imagine the city going through and saying, all right, well, we're going to buy these properties as they become available. And that's what we're basically simulating right now. The city is taking these properties as they become available. Again, we're just going through, kind of systematically creating a street network in here. And again, a whole bunch of eminent domain. We need this connectivity through here. And at this point, the city has enough funding to do a whole bunch of things. And this is me kind of living out my planner fantasy because there are so many times that you see where, for whatever reason, whether it's a developer that was unwilling to build a road or the city unwilling to force them to build a road, that you end up with missed opportunities. And now we're going to take advantage and repair some of these connections. And I think that's really critical. And I imagine in the future, this is going to be something that Verde Beach looks back at on and says this was money well spent. So we'll have a lot of zoning things to fix in here. But you can see we've got a very substantial roadway network through here now. And all of these are conflict points is one way to look at it. Another is to look at it as connections. So we've got one more thing to do. We've got to really look at our junctions and make sure they're right. Okay, and something that's been bugging me for a while, the placement of this arch. It's kind of a remnant of our roundabout. We're going to move that into a more logical location. Now, what we've done here is prioritized our collectors throughout and given stop signs to any of our local roads. Told them, you're just not the priority in this area. So all of these connections are places where coming out of the roundabout, people could take a right or a left and prevent some of this backup from occurring. So I think the longer we run this, the better this is going to look, because at this point we have connectivity. And we might need to do some targeted treatments. One-ways, for instance, right here might make sense, having a couplet of one-ways. The other thing is we have this, it's a one-lane or two-lane collector. It probably deserves to be upgraded at this point, given the prominence of it now that we've made some of these modifications. And this will allow us to have more turning movements here. This is a really short queuing distance, and this extra lane will help. So when someone needs to go straight or make a left, they can do that, and then we won't back up into Kellerhouse. So I think this is a really important change for the city. And you start to see our traffic flow really improving. We're in a really good spot. 84. We hit 84. That is wild. Just by ensuring that we have connectivity throughout and remedying our rail traffic issues. So, this was a marathon. We did a lot today, but I think we're in a good spot. I really do. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. We've got some interchanges. We've got some rail things. And we've got significant connectivity. One more area where I think we can increase connectivity before we end this is over here. Okay, and we need to also change our junctions here, prioritize those through movements, but now we've given all this freight traffic another option to leave. I didn't want to get it too close to the roundabout though, if at all possible. So all of that connectivity through here, we're going to see this really start to improve over time as things get better. The other thing that we could probably do at some point, these ramps are really prioritizing this entryway movement, which I don't love. And I think if we reduced that radius a little bit, it would slow things down and prioritize the other movements. But I think we're probably okay for now. I mean, our traffic flow is 82%, which is outstanding in vanilla, in my opinion. And you can see that all of these little connections that we've made are being used. Things are improving even where there were messes. When we look at Kellerhouse, let's look at some of these roads. These are desirable roads. These were necessary roads. These are paths that people wanted to take, places that people wanted to go. Granted, Kellerhouse is still the road. That's still carrying most of our traffic. And it's doing so slower, which means it's also safer. So lots of benefits here. So people are certainly moving through the city slower, but the congestion is less, and we're doing fine. We're doing fine. People have options now. We're not funneling. 81%. So I think we're going to leave it here. And one of the things I was thinking about doing is taking a look at that passenger rail terminal that we put in the last episode and converting this one. I think we're going to save that for the next episode. We're in a good spot and the city's looking good. Smooth. Traffic flow is smooth. We are definitely in a good spot. Except for this, no power. This will get better. It'll connect at some point. So we'll probably need to look at our water pipes too. We've added a lot of infrastructure without adding water pipes under the road, but we're going to demand that the developer takes care of the laterals for the mains. That would certainly be our issue to deal with. So we're in a good spot. I'm going to leave it here. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please consider hitting that like button. If you aren't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so, and hit the notification bell if you want to know when I release new videos. I also want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon supporters. Their support really helps me improve the videos by getting better equipment and upgrading what I have. I'm going to leave you with a brief city tour. Stay tuned for that right now.